Hey friend, it's me Vasco with a quick announcement. We at the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast are organizing this year's Scrum Master Summit. For tickets and details on the summit, check out the URL bit.ly/SM Summit 22. All one word, SMSUMMIT 22. And now, on to the show. Hello everybody, welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Pratik Dahule. Hi Pratik, welcome back.
Thank you, Oscar, for inviting me again.
Absolutely. So Tuesday is Team Day here on the podcast, but before we dive into the teams, we definitely want to know, what was the book that most influenced you in your career as a Scrum Master, Pratik?
So one of the book which literally helped me progress in my career was the book called Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. This is a phenomenal book because it talks about the slight edge is a philosophy, actually a new way of thinking. It helps you to make a daily choices or small actions which you take and create a compound effect that we can change our life the way we want it to be. And we already have all the information. I'll take an example. I've been following the podcast a lot of time. I'm listening to all the success stories, all the notes. So we have all the success information. But the whole thing comes down to is consistently applying those daily choices. And the knowledge which I'm getting, I have to implement those. And that's the choice for us. I can do it, I cannot do it, right? It's easy to do, at the same time, it's not easy to do as well. So there are both the components to it. The secret ingredient in this book they talk about is to do the things over and over again until that success kick in, right? And one of the small things which are extremely easy to do is like, let's take a salad, right? And French fries. We know salad is really good for us, but we still go end up taking French fries. Why? Because we know that it's not going to hurt us immediately, right? It might hurt us in a long time if we continue the same process, but if we do that one day, it's not going to affect us. So same thing, it aligned me towards similar process flow of what Scrum is all about, making small change one at a time. And then once you embrace this philosophy, you just some approach. If you take that approach, you are able to get to that zone of work. So I definitely recommend this book if you have not read it, because it talks about so many good facts. And one of the best facts it talks about is like things that are easy to do are just as easy not to do. And then it helps you to get to that plant, cultivate, and harvest cycle and allows you to get to that quantum yield.
Definitely a great recommendation. I'll put the link in the show notes for people to go and check out the book Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. But one thing that this description or this recommendation you gave reminded me of is that in the real world, because you've had information about it, that salad is necessary. I mean, don't always go for the French fries. It's okay once in a while, but not always, right? And in Scrum and in life and in the complex environment of a work setting, it's not always that simple. It's not always black and white, right? And it takes effort to find out what works. We were talking yesterday on Monday about how you learn to be more listening, to coach the team instead of telling them what to do, to help them find out what's the best course of action. Like that takes many of those small edges, as you were talking about in that book, right? Like we do need to be deliberate about discovering and then, as you said, applying those small edges. And that's really why we have this podcast, to try to help Scrum Masters out there to get a huge toolbox that they can reach for and find the right tool for the job. And it's okay to fail the first few times. It's fine. Sometimes we take the wrong tool out of the box, but there's more tools in the box. And that's what we are building every day. And this book, I'm sure, Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, will help our listeners get a few more tools in their toolbox. So thank you for sharing that, Pratik.
Yeah, and it has all the steps in that which can help you to get to that nitty-gritty details of what is goes.
Absolutely. But now we turn our attention to teams because, of course, they are the core of our action, the core of our focus. We work with teams every single day as Scrum Masters. So tell us the story of one of those teams, Pratik, and walk us through the process, these small little behaviors that developed over time and eventually became big problems for that team.
So there are many behavioral patterns that we observe on our day-to-day work when we are working with our team. And in one of the instances, developer wants to work independently, right? And then everyone wants to work on one user story. They want to sit on the user story until the last day of the sprint. And we have seen it multiple times that we see the spike at the last day going like big time down. So there's nothing happens in like for 7 days or whatever the week of the sprint you have decided duration, and we do not see any momentum. And then suddenly the last day we see the spike down. I'm like, why? There is always the pattern I see, and not only in the one organization, I have been able to see that in or two, three places where I worked, I've seen a similar pattern or trend. So I feel that's something that's which has stuck with me. That particular habit which I see from the team has always stuck with me. And when I see a Jira tool or whatever tool we usually see, I see that when you see the first 3 days, it's like the momentum is still at the it's still horizontal. And then suddenly it goes on the last, it goes into vertical zone, right? And so the pattern which I'm seeing is like the team are working in so much in silos. They are not taking or communicating with each other. Okay, there's a sprint daily scrum meeting where people are talking, but most of the days goes, okay, I'm looking into it, I'm still researching the code, I'm going through the code.
You
So
mean by silos, you mean that people focus on the tasks that they can do alone rather than
exactly.
together?
Exactly, and more procreate behavior. Like they are very narrow-minded on their only work, not able to see the how it could affect the other team members or other coders. They are only thinking about the code they are working, but not working in integration. And then when you deliver at the last moment, there could be a lot of technical debts that can occur, right? And we have seen that numerous times. Like if we are giving your details at the last moment, and when you integrate the code, that could create a lot of chaos. And you do not want to do that, especially in front of a sprint meeting, a sprint review meeting, I mean to say. And that could create a chaos. And there has been numerous instances where we can go and talk about it and make a progress about it. But still, we can see that. And I can give you, I walk you with one of the instances, like this place where I was coaching them on the technical depth. There was having like 100 defects. Okay, now they listed all those defects as a minor defects. And when you do the unit automation testing, we see those defects popping out again and again. However, we found out that one of the defect which was minor in our team could have affected the other team, because that small code was affecting their team when we were pushing that. And as a matter of fact, we work in a bigger organization. There is one code affecting the other organization because there's one department, let's say it be sales, it could affect the marketing team, which has a different code and how it presented there. So that code dependency could hinders. And then when you do that at the last moment, there is no point of action to take it.
So this is a pattern that I have seen in many teams. Definitely the pattern of leaving the stories to the last day of the sprint. That was definitely, or it is definitely a very common thing, and you can see it in the burn on, like you described, right? Like flat burn until the last day, and then boom, and it causes chaos and so on. And also the pattern of not really understanding the impact of our code on other teams and even our choices on other teams. How do we solve this as Scrum Masters, Pratik? What have you learned from these experiences, and how do you approach those situations today?
So that's a very good question. And I had a nightmare when I was initially on this as a Scrum Master trying to resolve this thing. And with the help of once again, I'm very lucky to have good mentors and the podcast of yours like who help where I can get a good help. So I'm going to talk about the two techniques which I have worked in past and have helped us big time. First is Juta Itkinson technique, which is a feedback loop of what now, so what, and what we can do later. Right. So it's basically asking what is your current situation, what should we do now, and how can we improve from there, right? So it's like more like a retrospective way where we go and talk about it, but it allows you to bring people on the same page. Like if we continue doing this thing, it could impact other teams, and we have to work progressively, right? And this powerful technique allows you to go and use your brain refrain like, okay, why, what made you do this thing, what are the practices are we encouraging for ourselves? Is it like a goal of we becoming a performing team? Like if you take a Tuckman model, we want to become a performing team at the end, right? But Can we reach to that level if we are still struggling to even get to the story points at the last day, right? So those kind of things. And another technique which has been very useful was cause and effect technique, where we can take an example. Okay, what is the velocity we are tracking for, and what's the rate of burn down? Can we see that on a day-to-day basis with the help of a team, so that that data sanity is there? So like people are making decision from that dashboard rather than just talking about points. Can they Are they looking into that dashboard and trying to create that data sanity where they can make a decision out of it? Are we in a place where we are even delivering what we are asking, or what the product owner has been asking for us or not?
Yeah, I think that that's a great example of something that we need to always have in mind is if the teams aren't asking the right questions, right? Like if they aren't worried about what's going on, if they aren't asking, how do we do this and how do we do that? How do we improve this? How do we get rid of that particular problem? It's probably also because they're not getting the right signals, right? Like they're not facing the difficulties, the challenges, and of course the data, as you were talking about, that allows them to ask those questions. So that's a great question we can ask ourselves is, what is the information that my team is missing to be able to ask the right questions?
And this technique helps you to expose the system we are working with, right? It allows you to expose ourselves. Are we really doing the favor to ourselves by, and our intentions are very good. Like as a team, we all want to grow. But what is causing that? Is it a skill set gap sometimes, or it allows you to understand the loopholes that we have sometimes as a weakness of our team? Because we all want to grow, but can we find out things which we want to improve on? So that's
Absolutely. We all want to grow. Absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing that story with us, Pratik.
Thank you.
Hey friends, it's Vasco again, now with a bit longer announcement. I'm part of the team that is behind the Global Scrum Master Summit, the conference dedicated to the Scrum Master role. If you're a Scrum Master, the Scrum Master Summit is a place to learn, to share, and of course to meet new friends. We will have lots of live sessions where you can meet and network with other Scrum Masters from the whole globe. So make sure you check it at bit.ly/SM Summit 22. We have several amazing keynotes and 7 tracks that feature people like you and of course thought leaders sharing their insights, their knowledge, and helping you become an awesome Scrum Master. You can check out all of the details of the summit, including the keynotes announced, the track chairs, and much more at bit.ly/SM Summit 22. That's all one word. That's bit.ly/SM SUMMIT and the numeral 22. I'll see you on the conference floor.